Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I have gained a couple of new subscribers, so if you're new here, hi, my name is Sirenu-Eve. This week I've been trying out the Caran Neocolors. I am still trying to get used to them and seeing if I prefer using their water soluble aspect to them or using just them as the bog standard like wax pastels. Both parts I love when I've been trying them out in this video. I have never used wax pastels, oil pastels, any like wax media before, so I am still trying to learn how to blend, how to dilute them properly, just to get like a general gist of how they're used and how to use them for the best outcome in terms of for art pieces and artwork. So what better way than to try them out than by painting and drawing flowers with them, a topic that I'm not really that informed with. I'm not really the best at flowers and plants in general. I've only really painted flowers a couple of times in this sketchbook, and I think these have been done over the course of like a good year, and that's as much as I've really done. So this will either make me or break me when using the Caran d'Ache, using media in a type of art product that I've never used before and don't really know how to use, and then also drawing and painting images basically of things that I'm not really that good at to begin with. So we will see how they go. All my reference pictures I will quickly insert now, or I'll either insert them on each individual painting I do. I did do a couple this week, so basically I tried to do a flower painting a day. It didn't really work out that way because some of them took longer than others and just the beginning of the week was quite hectic anyway. But all the reference pictures are from a website called Pexels. It's a royalty-free image site. If you ever need reference photos, they don't have like a wide verse in everything. Sometimes certain animals don't really come up when you search it, or flowers. But if you just do in general like searches, so dogs, cats, fields, flowers, that kind of thing, it'll give you some good inspirational photos, I tend to find. Obviously some of them are photography edited, so some of them are a bit more vibrant and saturated than they would be in real life. But just for some inspo and for references, I find the site really good. The first flower that I painted was more vibrant out of all the other flowers that I picked. I don't tend to go for pinks and purples, but I really wanted to try and use all of the Caran d'Ache colours, and two of them being a really magenta pink and then one of them being quite like a violet purple. And with me not using them, I just want to try and use all the Caran d'Ache colours that are in here. I think I used all of them bar the green. I did try to incorporate the green in some of the branch work, but it just didn't work out that well. But now that I'm thinking about it, I actually did a rose and I did use the green for that, so what am I talking about? I'm just yabbering on. So with these flowers as well, some of the flower reference pictures didn't say what type of plant they were, so I don't know all the names. I know the second one I drew was based off roses, and the fourth drawing I did was based off of hydrangeas. The other ones I don't really know what they are, but I think the third image was like a type of blossom. That's what it looked like. And then the first one I have no idea what it is at all, but it was just very pretty and I just wanted to use it because it was really vibrant and just really saturated and just looked really cool in the reference photo. For some reason this week I really wasn't having any luck when it came to filming, which unfortunately disrupted some of the paintings that I did. So it was mainly on the first flower that I was drawing. It just completely didn't record my section where I actually used the Caran d'Ache. I later did go in with the Caran d'Ache on top and used it more as just like the wax pastel part of the Neocolors, but originally I did use the pink and purple and then I added some water, so you don't unfortunately get to see the water soluble aspect for that painting. There was also a background of the Caran d'Ache I did where I literally just mixed a load of colours, made a background and did some blossoms on top in a fine liner, brush pen, sorry. That also just didn't record. Both times my phone that I record on was just having a hissy fit and kept saying that there was no space, even though I'd made space and I cleared it and I cleared all my storage. So I don't know what was going on there, because after that I did a hydrangea the next day and it videoed over an hour of me painting and drawing for the hydrangea and it didn't once stop recording, so I don't know what was going on. So I just unfortunately haven't been able to insert certain parts of the drawings for the flower, the first flower I did, sorry, and the blossoms that I did. So I do apologise if any parts of the video seem a bit choppy or snipped off. It's not me actually stopping the recording, it's just my camera just wasn't recording at all. But overall, the Caran d'Ache, they're very vibrant colours, very bold. I've loved them pretty much since I did the swatches in my swatching haul video a couple of weeks back when I first purchased these Neocolors. They are just easier to use than I expected them to be. They're very creamy in texture, velvet, like an almost like creamy velvety texture to use. They just swatch really easy and smoothly, and I just found throughout all these different paints I just didn't really struggle using the water with the Caran d'Ache. They just blended really easy, moved really easy. I didn't really have to work too hard to get them to kind of look the way I wanted them to. Even without the water they remained really creamy and they blended well. The only thing is obviously if you have some of the colours were a bit more opaque than others, so once you added them on top they kind of become the main colour. But even adding the white just kind of give this like more like matte finish to them, and that was quite a cool aspect that I did on one of the branches in the first painting. If you've been a subscriber of my channel and have watched quite a few of my painting videos, I am unfortunately a creature of habit, and if you've seen different paintings that I've done, I always find myself adding products on top of watercolours. I never simply just leave it as the watercolour painting that I've done or whatever watercolour or gouache wash I've done on the page. I always seem to go in with some form of acrylic marker, some form of gel pen, a pastel, some form of fine liner. I just never seem to just leave it at the watercolour. I'm always just terrible for adding more and more on top of it, so a bit more like mixed media paintings really. But with these having a waxy texture, I did learn really quickly that you cannot just add fine liners and pencils on top of them. They kind of just indent the page and move the wax about. They don't really like obviously work, and it just kind of stops your pens from working. So I did make that mistake once and then I stopped doing that. I just simply don't think sometimes, and when I think about it now I'm like, well duh, you're putting something waxy on a page and then wondering why a fine line isn't working on top of it. But anyway, that's just because I don't simply think sometimes. For the first painting and the roses, I just really stuck to the Caran d'Ache Neocolors. I basically used the Neocolors, then added some water to give kind of like a smoother blend, and then I went back in with the wax pastel Neocolors and just went in with some thicker, chunkier lines. These two paintings came out, in my opinion, a little bit more abstracty. They do look like flowers still, but they're a bit more blocked off and they're a bit more thicker lines, you would say. I tend to usually go with a finer line and do fine liners on top, but them two seem to be more bolder than out of the two. My next one that I did was quite simple, and then the hydrangeas I did came out quite simple and more of like a watercolour look. I tend to prefer adding more finer details onto my artwork. Like I said before, I'm quite a creature of habit, so I always find myself going in with thin fine liners or thin watercolour markers or Posca markers with the fine tips, just anything to add little dots here and there or little bits of highlight. I just am terrible at doing it. I just always add them on because I just really enjoy that part. Even though with my artwork I tend to prefer a little bit more of a realistic look in paintings or pictures that I create, this product I feel like would be brilliant for people who like literally do abstract art or prefer that kind of artwork. I just find that all the colours are really bold and they're very vibrant, and with obviously them being a wax pastel type style media, the lines that you get off the Caran d'Ache are quite chunky and thick, and they just give me more of that abstract feel. I can't explain what I mean, but in my head it makes sense. I feel like you could get some really crazy backgrounds with these, especially with the colours that you can get in the Caran d'Ache. They're just very bold, and even when you add a bit of water to them and that, they still stay quite pigmented. And with the Neocolors just being chunkier to swatch overall, and just, I don't know, the vibrancy just gives me more abstract, I feel. And I feel like you get some really good abstract artwork out of the Caran d'Ache. Things like flowers, like loose drawings of flowers or trees, or sometimes people do, I often see like abstract artwork of like the ocean where it's quite like thick bolder lines, but you can still interpret it as water. I just feel like they would work really well for that. I hope that made sense. I did find myself really enjoying using them though. I was kind of just messing around with these different pages. I was just mixing different colours together, mixing colours that I usually wouldn't really go for. Like I said, the pinks and the purples, for all their lovely colours, they're just not my kind of colour and I don't tend to gravitate towards them. I tend to always gravitate to more the oranges and yellows and the greens. So it is quite nice to go for more cooler tones in a sense, even though this pink would probably be a bit more of a warm tone. And then when not using the Neocolors, the palettes of paint that I have up beside me, the ones that I was dabbling in now and then, were the Mungyo pastel palette. The three little pans in the centre though, they are not. I can't remember, I got them as gifts and I don't have swatches of them. I can't remember if them three are White Nights watercolours or if they are Schmieke watercolours. I think they're White Nights, but I could be wrong about that. I do apologise. So them ones didn't come with the pan. The little small pans were what came with the original palette. They're more like a pastel colour, and I tend to use these every time I open that sketchbook that I've been trying to do flowers in. I just find the pastel colours, once again, aren't my kind of colours, and a lot of the times a lot of flowers are quite light, so it's the perfect chance to use them. There was no struggle with smudging or blending in with the Neocolors. I was also happy that there was no breaking off of the Neocolors. I didn't seem to get any fallout from them. Nothing really snapped because I can be a bit heavy-handed, so I was a bit concerned that I would snap them because they're quite thin. I did have my moments where I did fail a little bit in these paintings, but like I say, I was really just dabbling in getting the Caran used and seeing what they were like. And once again, like I say, I'm not really the best of flowers, but I thought, you know what, I really wanted to paint flowers, so we'll just do it. And I wasn't like limiting myself to making them perfect. I was just getting something on the page, and I really did enjoy it. There wasn't that much stress added to it. Usually I find I get quite stressed when I'm trying to paint and create any pieces of artwork, as I tend to find I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I always just go and add more and more until it's perfect, basically. So rather than just adding and adding, it was nice just to kind of let loose and just basically use the Caran like I wanted to, and just, even if they turned out loose versions of the flower, just something on the page. I really enjoyed myself. There was no pressure, even though there was no pressure anyway when painting, and there shouldn't be. It's just, I know most people will be the same as well. When we want something to look nice, we tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves to make it perfect, and sometimes that's just not the case and it's not going to happen. So I did end up letting go of that. And that was pretty much all I really did for these paintings. The sketchbook that I'm using is the My Stationery hot pressed watercolour paper sketchbook. It's a bit smaller than an A5 sketchbook. I might, if I can find the link, I will put them down in the description box, because I got it off eBay and I think they're about £15. But for a cheaper type of sketchbook, I'm not going to lie, the paper's absolutely brilliant. Like, I have no problems with this paper. It very hardly buckles. Like, the watercolours blend really easy on them, so it's a very good sketchbook. And if you're looking for something small that you can just travel with, it's definitely a really good option. Like I was saying earlier in the video as well, I had a lot of trouble filming and recording it and keeping my phone to save, like getting my phone to save the video footage, sorry. So a lot of the products that I did little short videos of, it hasn't done. So obviously I know that you know I'm using the Caran Neocolors and the Mungyo watercolours. The paintbrushes that I used, just in case anyone's interested, was the Winsor&Newton professional range. I used the size 2 and size 4, and then I also used the Winsor&Newton Cotman watercolour brushes, and I used a size 10. Sorry, I'm looking at them in my little tub. And then for highlights, I used the Sakura Jelly Roll in size 10 and size 5. I use these all the time in pretty much every painting video, so you'll probably be sick of the sight of these. I also used the colour Sepia in the Uni Pin fine liners that you can get from places like The Range, The Works and most stationery shops. And then brush pen for the blossoms, I used the Faber-Castell Pit Artist brush pen, and it was just the brush pen. It wasn't like the thin nib, and it was in the colour black. They were pretty much the other items that we used for these paintings. I did earlier say for the rose painting that I went in with the Caran I did, but originally, as you can see in the video, I was using the Mungyo pastel watercolours for the base of the roses and the backgrounds, and the same for the hydrangea. I did the background and the Mungyo. So I do apologise. My head's been all over the place trying to get this video sorted, so I'm sorry if I've mismentioned some of the products, but you can see obviously in them snippets of the video I'm using the Mungyo, not the Caran on that bit, so I do apologise. But without further ado, that's pretty much the paintings that I created this week. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. I will link down in the description box all the products that we used, and I'll try and find links to where you can buy them. I got the Mungyo from The Range originally, but I think you can get them on Amazon as well. And the Caran were in a local art shop in Newcastle called Details. I will link their websites down below as well to the art shop, and then I will also link the products and different sites you can get them on if you want to get them online. In terms of my socials, I will also link them down in the description. You can find me also on TikTok and Instagram. I try to upload at least once to twice a week on there, and then I upload here on YouTube obviously every Thursday. And without further ado, everybody, I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and I hope you all have a lovely the beginning of next week too. And I will see you in next week's video, guys. Bye.